This is a precursor. Wait, hold on. Say that again?
I'm not saying this was a false flag. I'm saying that this was something meant to be a provocation to justify a false flag that looks like it's a bunch of conservatives being violent and lashing back, right? I'm saying, like, what if tomorrow something gets bombed and then they find out that it's supposedly a conservative, and now they can say, okay, conservatives are getting violent.
Right. It's two tiers.
Yeah, it wasn't this, but it's what are they going to use to justify the false flag tomorrow that they're going to blame on conservatives?
Right. Interesting. I mean, right now it's September 10th. Tomorrow, September 11th. And there's prophecy that's talking about a 9/11 event, not necessarily date, but a 9/11 style or level event. But now it begs the question, like, what would that attack look like? Where would it be? And who against?
Yeah.
Who, let's assume for a second that Republicans or conservatives even fight the same way that the tolerant left fight. How is that attack going to look? What does a attack from the Republicans look like? Because usually it's judicial. That's not a quote. I'm not air quoting right now. It's usually judicial fact. And it's usually within the confines of both social and regulatory standards. So what would a quote-unquote attack from conservatives look like when we know Trump, Charlie, attacks look like? From, well, I can say Trump. I mean, we know who didn't want Trump in the office. Like, we know what that was all about.
Yeah.
We don't know who necessarily shot Charlie yet because it's only on the West Coast, 3:24? So, like, what would an attack from the right look like?
I don't know. Maybe an attack to some type of liberal institution.
Of what?
Like some type of liberal institution.
Who benefits by both the left and the right America attacking itself?
I mean, the benefit would be for the people who want it escalated and that need justification to, kind of start a civil war narrative or create some type of martial law lockdown.
So what kind of people would that be? I mean, we're 12 days from the meeting of nations about Israel, right?
Yeah.
If we believe what we believe that our battle is not with flesh and blood, our battle is with spirits and principalities, right?
Yeah.
So in the grand scheme, what we believe is that we are fighting a battle against evil, and how evil influences society is based upon the people who say yes to the narrative of evil. The not Republican, but the conservative majority Republican believe that the left is influenced by not right thinking, deception. They're not bad people, they're just deceived, right? So if we were to follow that logic, that means that we believe on the right, which again, marginal right, but right. We believe that the people that are fighting for attacks against the president and people like Charlie Kirk aren't fighting for the right side. I feel like there's this larger narrative at play where the devil is attacking America, leading up to America's influential decision over Israel and how to break that state up or give it straight to Israel and defend it. That's the Abrahamic Accords. It's an attack on the Abrahamic Accords. It's an attack on the argument that started with Abraham and his two sons. One promised and one bastardized. Think about that.
Okay, explain that one more time.
So if you go back in the Bible, if you read through the Bible about Abraham, right? It was Abram and Sarai. Abram and Sarai both were, the Lord showed up to Sarai and said, she's old of age. She is way beyond childbearing age. And the Lord says to her, I will give you a child. And then the promise to Abram is you will be the father of many nations, right? In a culture where a woman's identity is built around the premise that she can bear children. In a culture where your name carried on is your only legacy. Because there was no internet or posting or anything like that. You were known by the name you gave to your son. You needed an heir. So that was a promise. They lived in that. They found themselves continuing to get older and older and older and older. In our context, that's like a girl hitting 60s, 70s. And after being given the promise at 55, it's like, I'm beyond childbearing age. I'm through menopause. Like, this isn't going to work. But God's saying, nope, you will be the father of many nations. Sarai, you will bear a child that I will give you. And your name is no longer Sarai, it's Sarah. Your name is no longer Abram, it's Abraham. And funny that change of name comes with the indwelling of the Holy Spirit through the H sound. That's the breath of life. And in the changing of their names and the promise given, they find themselves years later going, when is he going to show up? When is this going to happen? When is this going to be a reality, right? And she finds herself frustrated. Sarah, also known as Sarai, she's like, God gave us a promise, but it's never going to happen. I'm way beyond age. Like, you might as well just screw the slave girl and have a kid with her, because I'm not going to be able to provide you a child. She lost confidence in God's promise. Yeah. And what that turned out, you got to understand, like, slave girls and all this, like, even if it's indentured servitude, usually they do whatever they're told. And the master of the house in that context was Abram. Even if it was an indentured servitude position where he was able to provide for them, he took her and they bore a child, Ishmael. Even Muslims today route their entire lineage back to Ishmael and Abram. Abram is the father of their faith. The same way well, I'll get to that in a second. So what happens after Ishmael's born is jealousy is born in Sarah, known as Sarai previously. And so as she watches Abraham raising Ishmael with the slave girl, baby mama, she grows this bitterness and this envy and this jealousy and probably rage. What a lot of people are feeling around this nation with Charlie's death. And this frustration and anger and sadness and bitterness and all these feelings that are not of the Lord, when God's promise comes about, where he said, you will bear a child to Sarah, not to Abraham, but to Sarah. Mm-hmm. Eventually it happens. And she gives birth to Isaac. Mm-hmm. Isaac is the promised child, right? So now she's like, oh my gosh, it happened. Abraham, you need to kick them out of town. They're not allowed to be here. He's a bastard. She's a slave girl. They don't belong here. This is your promised child. There's some arguments to be made about her logic and comparing it to Eve. I won't do it, but you can carry the one. So now she's emboldened by the fact that a woman's identity is inflated when she can give birth to a child. Previously couldn't, right? Like, that's like a barren woman becoming capable of having a kid. That's a big deal. Huge identity statement. So now she's able to give birth to a child, and Isaac is born, the promised child to Abraham. And so Abraham follows suit. He says, okay, I'll kick him out of town. I'll kick him out of our village that we built. And so he kicks the slave girl. Hold on. Abraham's slave girl. I got to look up her name because I can't remember it. Hagar. Hagar. An Egyptian woman who was given to Abraham's wife, Sarah, by Pharaoh when Abraham was in Egypt. Okay. So Hagar and Ishmael get kicked out of town because Sarah says, your promised child from God, firstborn, is here. Well, that's the problem because he wasn't the firstborn. So now you have the firstborn kicked out, even though he's a bastard child, like Jon Snow and, in that whole story. He's kicked out because he's not the legitimate child of Sarah and Abraham. But what happens is that bitterness and rage and anger gets transferred from Hagar to Ishmael. And Ishmael carries that anger forward. And so it's really an interesting conversation because what follows after that is Abraham is asked by God to take Isaac, the promised child of him and Sarah, up to the mountain to sacrifice him.
Right.
He's told to have his son gather a bunch of sticks and wood, load it on his back, and carry it up the mountain.
Yeah.
So that Abraham can put him on an altar to burn him as a sacrifice. Interesting that Jesus did the same thing, loaded his sacrificial altar on his back and carried it through town and up a hill to die on. Abraham was asked to do the exact same thing. God said to him, you will be the father of many nations. Those two nations are at war with one another right now. And we are in the midst of watching as those two nations clash. And by those two nations, I actually mean every nation that surrounds Israel, because if you look at the colors of the flags that surround Israel, they're all the same color. They got different form, but they're all the same color. Their faith is of the same faith. The faith of
the real nation,
the Muslim faith. Yeah, the Muslim faith, right? Which is the Muslim faith all go back to the same father, Abraham. All the descendants of Abraham are either Muslim or Jew, Christian. Christian, right? That is the war that we're watching. And when people say, I don't agree with what's going on in the war, it's like, okay, but if you're not of one or the other, either Christian, Jew, or Muslim, you really don't have a seat at the table, because if you don't understand this conversation that started back with Abraham, this is the resolution of his decision. The same way that we're living in the decision that Adam and Eve made in the garden. We are just the ones that bear the burden of their decisions. And so that's kind of the story behind those two. And as it pertains to what we're seeing today with Charlie being shot, I don't want people to take on that bitterness and rage and anger like Ishmael did from his mother, Hagar, because that has perpetuated itself through an ecosystem of faith that has been built up. And it's like, you can make this comparison to Star Wars. When you look at Star Wars, it's a conversation between what? The Force and the dark side of the Force. Well, it's funny because there's the Force and then there's like the anti-Force. Those that choose the darker side, that is the antithesis, right? When you choose hate and anger and rage and bitterness, all it does is propagate evil. It doesn't solve anything. But when you choose forgiveness and love and compassion, now you've got the story of Saul. Saul murdered Christians, but then Jesus met him on the road and said, why do you persecute me? Man in white. Ask a Muslim who came to Christ about the man in white. They'll tell you, my life was changed when I had a dream about the man in white. He met Saul on the road to Damascus, and in that journey was blinded, knocked off his donkey, and spoke to from Jesus. And that murderer that murdered Christians, early Christians, was told to go visit a Christian who would pray for him and release him from blindness. Prayed over, I have to look this up too. He was prayed over by this apostle Ananias. On the road to Damascus, Saul was knocked off his donkey. He was blinded, and he was one that was like the elite, religious elite. This is why Jesus didn't die for religion. He died for faith or friendship, for relationship. Because Saul was on the road to Damascus on a mission to murder Christians, murder people who had a message about Jesus. Much like what we know Charlie to be, what we knew Charlie to be. No, he still is. He's just in heaven. Saul was on the road to Damascus and he was knocked off his donkey and he was blinded only to see the man in white, as the Muslims would say. And that man in white said, "Why do you persecute me?" I don't know. He says, "I don't know who you are, Lord." And he says, "My name is Jesus. Go and see my son, my friend Ananias." Then he went ahead and told Ananias, "Saul is coming to your house and I want you to house him and take care of him, as is culturally appropriate for somebody who's visiting a town. When they come into town, you take care of them in their culture, Jewish culture, Middle Eastern culture." And Ananias got scared and afraid. And yet he did what the Lord asked, housed Saul and all of his guys. Prayed for him, and the scale, once Saul's heart changed, the scales fell off his eyes, and he was freed from his past, forgiven for his transgressions of murdering early Christians, killing them, and he was given both forgiveness and sight. He was given the ability to see the truth. And then Saul became Paul. Again, the name change. Saul became Paul, and Paul wrote much of the New Testament and was one of the biggest advocates for Jesus' truthful story. And he wrote many of the words that we use even today. I mean, when I look at what I wrote today on Instagram, Saul penned those words. Those words, I'm going to pull this up real quick. There's a point to this. I put a quote out, and it was, I wrote about the Apostle Paul writing to the church in Rome encourages believers, do not be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. If your enemy is hungry, feed them. The same thing that Ananias did, the same thing that Jesus did. He welcomed the prostitute, the tax collector, the people that were deemed evil. The same thing he did with Saul. Knocked him off his horse, blinded him, caught his attention, and said, "I love you. Don't kill my people. Be the change." And the encouragement that brings is, he said, that's basically like Jesus saying to us now, the church, as we can justify being angry, we shouldn't be angry. Yes, I'm sad that Charlie's gone. But my prayer is not only for his family and for those that are affected by his death, but for those that mock. My prayer is for the person that took the shot, that person would know that he's forgiven. Because if Charlie was able to live through this, I can almost guarantee you his response would be, "I'm alive by God's grace, and I want you to know that I forgive you." I believe that Charlie had that kind of heart.
Yeah.
The same way that Jesus has that heart for his people. You hung my son on the cross and you killed him, but I still love you, and that's why I sent him. People look at Charlie's death and they're going to be very angry. And the worst thing that we can do is return evil with evil. Let's return evil with good and let our names change in the eyes of the people that are watching us. The church has a responsibility to show up with love, not as the world would show up. That's why I go back to, how does the left fight? Trump and Charlie got shot. Somebody in the world, some evil people, and maybe honestly, it might not even be the left. I don't know. But somebody or some people in this world are evil enough that they're willing to take life. They're willing to perpetrate evil. What is our response? We're only responsible for one thing. Our response. I will not return evil with evil. That's fighting fire with fire. I will fight fire with water. Because that is the salve. That is the peace that quenches the fire. The living water. Fighting fire with fire just creates devastation. Ask the Palisades. Fighting fire with water, that brings peace. That brings stillness. And that's what I think that this whole situation for me is really bringing out. Is I don't want to be a person who throws fire on people who are throwing fire on me. I want to love those who are evil and let God judge them, because my job isn't to judge, it's to love. That's what Jesus died for. He died for relationship. He didn't die for religion.
Right.
Anyways, what I happen to do in this, and I know that I'm like talking at you like I'm talking at an audience. I've struggled for about 6 months to do a video. I ended up pressing record and used you as my ability to get this message out of my own brain. So thanks.
Yeah, let's go.
Do I have your permission to use your voice and conversation online?
What did I say?
I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to know who you are. Unless
you record the whole thing?
No, I kind of started when I hit the soapbox.
That's fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah. If anybody's ever read the book Imagine Heaven, there's a really, really peaceful truth about what's going on right now. Charlie's at home. He graduated, and he is not bummed. We are far sadder, and we are in a much worse spot than he is. That I do know. The man's 31. So the disparity of age is probably not that great of a communicator to the struggle as it would be if he was like 90 and it's like, oh no, he died and he's in heaven and he's got his 22-year-old body. For him, that wasn't that long ago, so he kind of died in his prime. But he's living in heaven doing all the wonderful things, and if you want to know what heaven's like, I would say read Imagine Heaven, because it's pretty awesome. And John did a great job of taking interviews of over 1,500 people and put them into one book in one place that people can go and read. And it is a great depiction that gives hope beyond this life. It's hope beyond death. I get so tired of people who are like, oh, turn or burn. That is not hope. That is guilt. And Jesus did not preach guilt. He preached hope, both for this world, this earth, and the next. This world and the next. And so if you haven't read it, I would encourage you to. It's pretty good.
What's it called?
Imagine Heaven. It's like interviews that he has with people who died and went to heaven. And then those people came back. Kind of like the actor who was Hawkeye. Hawkeye. Actor. We'll get there. Jeremy Renner died. He got run over by a snowcat, I believe it was. And he ended up in heaven. And he was so at peace. He kind of got bummed about, in fact, you know what I'd love to do is I'd love to talk to him about his near-death experience. NDEs are an interesting conversation. He was bummed when he came back. He actually had a moment, he said, of like mild depression when he came home, where he's like, or came back, not home, because home is heaven, but like when he came back to earth, he was kind of bummed. Almost like it was better there than it is here. And that's echoed amongst so many other people, that heaven is way better than here. So I would be interested to see and hear from him if he was ever to sit down with me, which I doubt he would. But gosh, dude, what a hope-giving message John has started with Imagine Heaven. And it's a good book, and I encourage everyone to read it because it's hope-giving. The world we live in is not hope-giving. And religion is not hope-giving. It's condemning. It's annoying. And I hate religion. I find that funny as a Christian to say, but like, I just can't get over it. Jesus didn't die for religion. He didn't die for it. In fact, that's why he died. He frustrated the Jewish religion. The religious leaders, the Sauls of their group. Like, Saul was a religious elite. He was being bred to be the elite leader of the Jewish community. He was supposed to be the greatest rabbi. And he just pulled a Hitler and started killing everybody. So I don't think he died for religion. I think Jesus died for relationship, and relationship that allows us to go to heaven again. That's the truth. And so when you talk about people who've died and gone to heaven, it's cool to hear what they come back with. And it puts meat on the bones of what the Bible says. Sorry, I keep talking over you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a rare and impactful testimony.
I'm sad that we lost a great voice that had the boldness to stand up. But I'm not sad that he's in heaven. He's living a better life now than we are. It's just really unfortunate for us. And that means, I think, there's a vacuum. And I think the next conversation is who's going to fill that vacuum? Who is going to step in love, not in hate, but in love to fill that gap? Who is going to pray for their enemy and act in boldness? Because I can candidly say, I don't know the man, I've never met him. I know a lot of people who have. I'm going to assume based on what he believed. Try not to cry. Well, nice try. I'm going to assume, based on what he believed, that he would want people to step forward in faith and love, not hate or anger. Because he operated out of love. He wanted people to see.
Right.
And he loved them even if they didn't. That's what Jesus did. He was kinder to people outside of his community than he was to the people inside his community, because the scales were off their eyes, like Saul, who was blind and then made to see. His disciples he spoke directly to. He'd say, stop doing that. But to those outside, Zacchaeus, get out of that tree. We're going to have lunch at your house. Didn't know him from Adam. But it didn't change his heart to speak truth. He went into the town center and he spoke the word in the face of the people who were against him. Same way Charlie did.
Yeah.
Boldness. And this world needs it. In love, not in hate. To welcome your enemy to your table. Set up dinner in the midst of your enemies. That's what Charlie did. Yeah. And there's a need for that. And I think this generation is primed and ready to showcase the love of Jesus. And, dude, it will be very sad if the response is hate.
It doesn't seem like it is so far.
Yeah. And whoever's responsible for the shooting, it's not to drive dissension. There's bad people on both sides of the fence, and there's good people on both sides of the fence. And no matter which side of the fence it is, the Bible says, for all have fallen short of the glory of God. We've all failed. None of us are good. Like Mother Teresa and Hitler had the same chance of saying yes to the Lord at any point in their life. The same amount of opportunity for Mother Teresa to make it to heaven, Hitler also had. If you read Imagine Heaven, there's stories of people where they said F you God their entire life, and when they died and then were on their way to hell, they said, Jesus, I made a mistake, forgive me, and he pulled them out. They found their way back, they told the story. So who knows if we see Hitler in heaven? I don't know. And there's probably some prophets that are going to watch this video later and go, I actually do know, because I have been to heaven and I have met some people up there, and you might be surprised. Maybe it's Hitler, maybe it's not, but like, this is the conversation that people don't think about, that I don't know how to sit on it, but at the same time, I have faith to believe that there's things outside of our understanding. If my God is able to fit within my understanding, he's not a very big God. I have to believe in a God that's so big that I may never comprehend how the things work.
Of course. Well, we know that that's the case.
Yeah. I agree with that. I love that we're having a conversation and the whole world gets to share in on it. So this is fun. Raw and real. Geez, I want a beer right now. Like, it's such a sad day. And that's not the right response at all. But it it would be so like, I just want a beer. Can I be that real? This is so sad. I'm so sad. And not for him. I'm sad for us. I'm sad for the world we're in. Like I said, he's doing just fine. I feel so sad for the world, the loss. Yeah. I'm devastated in general for the loss of somebody who's so strong. Then for Erica and their kids, like, they're the ones that have to lose.
Yeah, everyone who supported him so much, his family, and even like his security team, everyone who's been traveling with him, for this to be the outcome.
The loss for Erica and the kids is obvious. Imagine the security team who felt responsible for protecting him and keeping him safe. The amount of guilt the amount of guilt they must be feeling.
Definitely need to pray for them.
Even though it came from across the campus from a rooftop, like, and I say that like not knowing what the news has said in the past hour, but it's 3:55. Like, I haven't watched the news in over an hour. I saw a video of a guy on a roof. They haven't caught him, but like, you can't protect against that. They didn't have that in their plan. Like, how would you? 31-year-old, like, talking point guy that shows up at a school and just allows discourse to exist? Like, why would you think someone's going to sit on a rooftop and shoot him like they did the president? Like, I don't know, man. That's just, the guilt they must be feeling has got to be so intense. And survivor's guilt and the whole thing, like, that's just not awesome. So prayers for all those people that were involved. Like, that's not their fault. It's so hard, man. Yeah. Well, this is one way to get a video out, I guess, huh?
Definitely.
I would love to hear the conversations around this. I think, as I texted a bunch of guys to come over and hang out tonight, I think there's a lot of loss that people feel, and having a place to go and a community to have, a community to surround yourself with is probably important. For those that are probably feeling happy to see him gone, I think it's important to think through who you look up to and imagine the greatest person you look up to being taken from this earth, and compare that. You may not agree with everybody, but I think it's valuable to understand that loss of life is loss of life, and that's not cool. Human to human, discourse aside, like, loss of life sucks.
for sure. Yeah, I'm looking at like this USC anonymous message board, and it's like pretty wild. Some of the things people are saying on there.
What do we got?
A lot of people are like pointing out, oh, this guy fought so hard for gun control, like he deserves it, or for like the Second Amendment. They're all posting like this article that says Charlie Kirk says gun death's unfortunately worth it to keep Second Amendment. And I mean, there's a lot of people on both sides, but there's a surprising number that are like saying he deserved it.
Yeah. And I would say my response to that would be the same that I think Charlie would have, which is I pray for those people, and what I pray is blessing. I don't pray that they change their mind. I pray that they see the truth. Like, they can hate the guy. They can hate me. They can hate anybody that believes in Jesus. Because when they hate us, the Bible says when they hate you, they hate me. And so I would say what they're really hating is they're hating Jesus.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I pray the blessings I've had that they would have. That's my prayer.
Yeah.
Because with the terminology of today, what we're seeing in the loss of Charlie is the arguments no longer matter to him. Like, discourse doesn't matter. He's in the presence of absolute truth.
Yeah.
When conjecture or opinion no longer matter, we'll put it this way. When you face the terminality of life, like when that gun fired and his body was torn apart by that bullet, opinion didn't matter. It didn't matter. The argument that you had or opinion you had in general didn't matter. There was no changing the trajectory of that bullet. What you thought, your opinion on onions, didn't matter. I don't really like what they're doing at the border. I don't really like the conversation of abortion. Didn't matter to Charlie. That was the end. The terminality of life. And now he's in front of the absolute truth. We are left behind to have discourse, opinion, and argument over what that absolute truth is. That's religion. Religion is, I believe a thing and I'm going to do a certain practice for things. Relationship is, I believe in you, God, and I'm going to hang out with you. And when that thing talks back and you have a conversation with that thing, it's no longer religion, it's relationship. You got to ask yourself what you're having a relationship with, what it guides you to. Because today we watched two relationships play out. The relationship between a guy who had a relationship with Jesus, and that relationship led him to speak honestly about what he thought, meeting the voice of somebody who had a relationship with something that said, it's okay to kill this guy. What we have relationship with, the community we keep matters. And in this context, we watch the kinetic connection of those two worlds, those two relationships.
Indeed.
So I pray for those people that are having those opinions. They're welcome to them. But ultimately, what I think and what they think won't matter when we all reach the end and we find out the truth. We will all find out at some point what the truth is. I would rather be wrong in the right direction than right in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
There's a lot of statements behind that I can make, but that's the simplest way I can think I can put that. I'd rather be the poorest in heaven than the richest in hell.
Definitely.
Because you can be right all the way to the end and only to discover that you're completely wrong. Yeah, there's a lot behind that, but I just hope that the church and the people that Charlie fought and communicated on behalf of don't respond in kind with evil. That's my prayer.
Amen.
That would suck. That would be a waste. He would be bummed.
Yeah, he would be.
I've never even met the guy. But I have met the God that we both serve.
Definitely.
Man, thanks for being a catalyst for this.
Of course. I'm excited to see the reactions.
I'm going to put it out and see what happens. But I don't know, man. It might just be a good little journal entry. Sad day.
Yes.
But also a graduation. Homie ran a good race. And he is enjoying the fruits of his labor.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, I guess.
Yeah. This is a shadow of what is to come. Like, this is the good of this world, the best of this world is a mere shadow of what is to come.
Yeah, for sure.
Love you, dude.
Love you too.
One sec.
All right. I should get back to work.
All right.
We'll see if I can get anything done.
Dude, I know. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I've kind of chalked this day up to this.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to make it into something productive. Maybe get some good food.
You're a legend. You're a good human. Be hot or be cold, don't be lukewarm, for I'll spit you out. Be cold water that people can drink, or be hot water they can bathe in. Don't be parasitic water that has no use. You are being useful, my friend, and in that, I celebrate you for that. You are always constantly a utility-based person that is so good at being useful, making the best of every scenario, and always adding to the world you're surrounded by. I admire that about you.
You're doing that as well.
Trying.
You know, put this message out to the world. You have a lot of good vision. Let's bring it to reality.
Day at a time, brother.
Yeah.
Love you,
Ryan.
Ryan.
Mariners tomorrow night?
What?
You want to go to Mariners tomorrow night?
Potentially, yeah. Would be down. Wait, tomorrow's Wednesday. Thursday?
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Thursday.
Today's Wednesday.
Yeah, Thursday. Yeah, down, dude.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's do it.
Right
Excited
on.
to be back there.
I know. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Talk to you soon. I feel like I kind of diatribed, but I have been struggling for weeks, months, to put this first video out, so I guess there's no time as good as this to celebrate the life of Charlie Kirk and the work he put forward. I wonder who's going to fill the gap and step into that. I don't think there is going to be a way to. I think he was such a dynamic voice, and there's really no filling it. I think it's going to be an amalgam of people. There's going to be a large collection of people that want to step in and be vocal about faith, about beliefs, about perspectives, and do it in love, not in hate. Because we've seen today what hate brings. It brings hurt. And it oftentimes brings more hate. But I believe that hurt in the right hands becomes healing for more people. And I believe that people that follow Christ should step up to the plate and take their hurt, take the hate that was thrust upon them, and turn it to healing through love. Love your enemy as yourself. This is what we're called to do. It's hard, but if successful, a lot more changes. Don't fight fire with fire. Fight fire with water. Holy water. Living water. If Charlie were here, I genuinely believe he would say, I forgive you. I don't know him, never met him. But I know the God he serves. The God he serves willingly died so that you could be connected to God again, so that you could live in heaven. That's the reality. Willingly took it. The way that Charlie willingly took hits in a barrage of attack. And today took a bullet. Erica, we're praying for you and your kids, your beautiful children, and your family. No matter which aisle you sit on, or which side of the aisle you sit on, I think loss is loss. And this is a high-profile person. Loss happens every day. What about them? I agree. God sees every single life that's lost on this earth. Doesn't matter their position, their sexual orientation, their religious belief, their political leaning, their race, anything. God sees his kids, and any loss of life is accounted for and held accountable to the people who perpetrate the theft of life. But that doesn't mean that the people that steal life are without the ability to be saved. And so my prayer goes out to you, Erica, and in the same breath, my prayer goes out to the people that have attacked people. The person who has pulled the trigger today, prayers also go out to you. Which is so counterculture, but so is Jesus. He went against the grain, and he chose love over hate. I don't side with anybody but Jesus. I side with the Jesus that Charlie served. And the pain is felt in our community because of this act. But love extends beyond decision. Love extends beyond hate. Love extends beyond bitterness and rage and evil. It supersedes it. Love covers a multitude of sins. And this sin perpetrated today will not be forgotten. It will not be tolerated. There is justice, but it is not mine to have. It's not Charlie's family to have. It's not for the Republican Party to have. It's not for his friends to have. God will have justice on the evil done, the evil that's been perpetrated. The evil in my life that I've perpetrated on others, I'm accountable for, and I will be accountable to God for it. That's between me and God. But the good that I've had in my life is also between me and God. And the reasons that I've changed in my life are because of love, not because of hate. I'm made more resolute when somebody hates me. I'm softened by love. I'm hardened by hate. And so my prayer for this nation today is that our response would be love. Love to those that hate us. Love to those that we're surrounded by. Understanding that life is short. Life is short. Jesus died at 33, according to what I understand. He had 3 years of ministry that changed the world. Well done, Charlie. The goal of every Christian is to live like Christ. Well done. For they will know that you are my disciples through your love. Love each other if you are his disciples. Don't bow down to evil, but love the people. Man. Love you guys.